Hi, today we're talking about our EPP project, and I'm really happy with the results and the progress I've made this week. I have spent a little extra time working on it and trying to work out those design elements that I want to show in it. So join me right after this and I'll show you where I am. And welcome back to the Shamrock Quilt Studio. Well, hi there and welcome back. Now, I've been working a lot more this past week on my EPP project, just sitting down in the evenings while I'm watching TV or have a few minutes to spare, and really focusing on getting some of those pieces that are already put together placed in the design where I want them to be. And what I quickly found out is I'm going through white pieces really quick. So I came up the other day and cut 3 strips of both the white and the featured fabric, and I've got those ready to make my pieces. So we'll probably start on those. I think there are about 14-15 pieces per 2 1/8 inch strip. So we're probably talking 42 to 45 of each color, each fabric to do. Anyway, let's see where we are with our design. And I kind of moved things around so we had a little bit more room to really show this off. I think I'm even going to move these out of the way. Now, as I talked about originally with this project, I wanted it to start out with the feature fabric in the very middle and then build on that as we go out with light colors, mixing them in and out with different shapes, different sizes. And as we come further out, then we'll begin to incorporate more color, more depth of the hue of those colors so that we'll have bigger pieces and we'll have darker pieces as we come out. But the middle of it's going to be very sweet and more pale, more neutral. So here we have our project, and you can see it's getting bigger every time. I think we've got a good shot of that overhead. And we still see the puckering, and I'm going to say that that is because the pieces are still in this. They have been taken out of the 2 rings in the center, but no others. Now that does make it a little more difficult to sew the pieces in, but it's not impossible because you're usually either sewing a row in or a shape in. You're not necessarily sewing big pieces, although you could sew this in sections and put it together. But I'm kind of designing as I go, designing as I sew it in, so that hasn't really been an issue to me. As you can see, we've got the pattern in the middle, and then we've got the pink and the green, really pastel-y types of fabric coming around. And then we're bringing in another focus on that fabric, the feature fabric. And then as we move out one more, you can see that we've gone to a 3-piece. So we started out with the center, 1 piece, 2 pieces, 3 pieces. Now where are we going from here? Well, you can see on these 2 that what we're going to do is we're going to come back in here and we're going to alternate the colors again with a mirror image of this to this, but we're going to have them in different colors. And then from there, let me move this around a little bit, we're going to start bringing in more of the feature fabric. Now, I've got all of these pieces made for all the way around, and then last night I started thinking about how can we get in bigger blocks of these 2 pastel-y colors that we're featuring. So I made 2 of the 4 pieces. And what we're going to do is we're going to take here where we've put these, I've got a string there, put these, and we're going to put white all around it. And let me see if I can just kind of place some stuff in here so you get the idea. This is all going to be white. This is the creative part of this, where you're kind of looking at what it's going to look like. So that's going to have the white all around it. And then as we get out in here, then we're going to start bringing in this shade, this darker green. So I would imagine that it's probably going to come in maybe around in here somewhere. I might just have, the problem is here on this, I can't have just one. It's got to be two. So if it comes out straight, it's going to have to be two. I'm not sure I like that, but I think the thing to do before pre-deciding is to get it out a little bit further and then actually try it. And that's why we've got 3 of these already with this 3-piece on here, so we can visualize what it's going to look like. And then I will be putting in these 4 pieces out a little further into this, and I will be adding in more of the medium tone green and darker green. And I think what I'm going to try to do is either start those out with a single piece or start them out maybe in something like this, where we have 3 of the lighter green and 1 of the darker green. That could be an option as well to come out in this area. Now, because I have alternated the pink and the green, I do have some difficulty about bringing in like a darker pink with this pink one, and that's just, I don't have a darker pink, so I've got to figure out how to do that and make it look appropriate. I can start bringing out diamond shapes in this area. I could do that. That would be an option. Could start doing something like that as we come along, but then there'll be places where the green doesn't alternate. And I think that's going to be okay. Ultimately, we're going to have to do that because we've got more green fabrics than we do pink. But for now, I'm simply concentrating on getting this far. I'd like to get everything out to about this far into this, put all these whites in, and then step back and look at it again and decide where we're going. But we do have many of these done. I think there's 4 total in each color. And then I've got a couple of these done. And remember, even if you put these together in little segments like this, they can always be taken apart because there's just one little thread that connects them, and all you got to do is snip those threads and it will come apart. And that's when I was just trying to experiment last night to see what might look best. See, I could do something like this and bring those out and still have them alternating, although this is a little close together if you ask me. It's the 3s and the 4s. What we may need is another 3 in here before we go to 4s. And if we did that, then we could start bringing in the darker ones here. It's an option. It may not be the way that I ultimately decide to go, but it gives you an idea of how this project comes together, how you have to be willing to flip it and go in a different direction if it doesn't work. For example, when I put on these, I only put on 3 because I wasn't really sure if I was going to like the fact that the arrow went the other way. And honestly, there's only 3 on. I could always change my mind and decide to take those off. Excuse me, and start bringing in the darker fabrics. But I want to get a little bit more in here, maybe on 2 sections, so I can determine if that's what I want to do. As you can see, it is getting pretty big already. That's a pretty good size. I don't recall exactly how long we've been working on this, but as I've stated before, and I'm going to keep saying this till you think I'm a broken record, but EPP is not a fast project. The only way that you can get something done quickly on EPP is if you do nothing but EPP and you start working on it and you just work until you get the body of your project done. A couple of things I wanted to mention while we're working on this, and one of them I just noticed. We've got a piece here. Let me get this, make sure this is under here and get a little something to point with. I noticed here we've got a piece where the paper has decided to come loose from the fabric. We could do a couple of things. We could go ahead and stitch the piece that goes here so we could take it out. But I think what I'm going to do is try to get it right back in there. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to pull back that fabric just a little bit, especially right there at the seam where it folds in. Okay, I've got one side back in, and I've got another side back in. Now, a couple of things I could do. I could put another stitch here to make sure that doesn't happen again, or I could put a piece of tape, and wouldn't you know, my tape is gone. But you could put a little piece of Scotch tape right there and hold it, or you could go ahead and put the next piece in. You will find that happens a lot, especially when you're moving it to sew on it, or if you're moving it to put it away. If you've got other little hands helping you, you might have that as well. Now, I did see another piece in here that's coming loose, and here's one. Now, this one is completely covered by other pieces, and all I'm going to do is just take it out and put it away and use it again. So we'll just take that out and not worry about it. If you find any others, I think that's an appropriate response to it. I'd rather take it out, here's another one, than have the paper get damaged and not be able to use it again. And here's one here. And what's causing this, actually there are quite a few. I'll show you probably what is causing this. When I am finished working on this and I need to put it away out of the way, I usually fold it over like this and put it. And I think what happens is when it folds like that, it doesn't necessarily fold right on the seam lines, and some of the papers get folded, and then they hold that shape, and when you fold them back out, then they want to pop out. But that's easy to work with, and it causes no problems to the design or to the project. Now we are well into this, and we have, I would say if we went tip to tip, we're at about 38 inches going across tip to tip. My guess is I'm probably going to want to make this about 60 inches, and it's probably going to be roughly in the shape of a square, but or a round. I don't quite know yet. It is 8-pointed, so theoretically, if you set it like this, you may be more than 60 inches. But you have to be careful about what size you're making it, because you've got to put a piece of batting in the back. The backing's not a problem. You just run a seam through wherever you want it to go, and you've got that. But the batting may be an issue, that to get it the size we want, we don't want to have to buy a king-size batting to do this. So thinking that maybe this might be a project that we use a piece of batting that we piece, and we certainly can do that, and I'll show you that if that comes to be. Okay, what else did I want to share about this project today? It is going very well. I did notice I had one seam here that it almost looks like you can see between the pieces. And I think that's just the way it was stitched. I think the stitches are a little far apart, and that's why you're getting that. And to remedy that situation, I can do a couple of things. I could take it out and restitch it. I could also really just go back in there and take a few more stitches in between the ones that are there and pull it together. I may choose to do that. But know that once you take the papers out, that fabric is going to relax, and it's going to almost make those seams where it's tugging apart and you can see through it. It's going to just slide it right together and really make it invisible to the human eye as it eases into itself. EPP quilts, I find, are a little heavier than a normal quilt, but they're also very cuddly because they're small pieces. I don't heavily quilt them because they've got so much stitching in them already that I just want to stitch them enough that holds them together and it keeps them durable. Okay, I think that covers this project for today. I'm going to keep working on this. I would like to have this finished in a couple of months as far as the top goes. But we do have a lot of other projects going along in the studio right now. And I wanted to take a minute to reintroduce you to the project I have hanging here. This is our stained glass project that we worked on. And it is a recreation of what would be a stained glass window or stained glass art piece made entirely in fabrics. And they are, they're not batiks, but they kind of look like batiks, but they're kind of a, I don't know, I think some fabric lines call them a grunge fabric. I just like to think of them as a fabric that has a lot of different hues and tints for that same color within the fabric, and it really makes it look like glass. If you're interested in this, please check out the playlist for the stained glass project. It was lots of fun. It's a completely hand done project, and I will have the link to where I found this drawing in the description of this film. I was trying to think of where the best place to put it, but we'll just put it in the description for this. But you could really use any design out there that you see that looks like it would lend itself to being able to do bias. That's the only thing that you are limited to on this project, is that it has to be a shape that you can get the bias to cooperate with you. You wouldn't want a design that had a lot of pointy edges because they're a little more difficult to manage. And what really makes this work great is we had this one piece along the outside, so we were able to run our bias right here and then cover it with the one piece around. I think it just looks great. It's very bright, it's very colorful, it's kind of serene too, so it's very nice to look at. And I hope to be doing another one of these projects in the coming months. But for now, back to the EPP project. If you have any questions on this, please leave them in the comments. I'll be happy to address anything I can. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and set that bell to notify you when a new video comes up. That's all for today. But we'll see you next time at the Shamrock Quilt Studio. Bye.